Oh,
Yes. Okay. Hello. Hello. And good morning, sir.
yes. Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning, everyone. Good morning, Grain. And thank you so much for recording this and making life easier. Okay. So today's thought of the day, before we start, and of course, because we have so many still left to read and do, because we are involved in a project. It's a big, huge project. And we have to prepare it. Still don't need to prepare himself, but of course the text is a need to be prepared. And it's a very amazing exercise for me, and of course working or doing for me, because I'm
Which
learning.
exercise? What do
Yes,
you talk
okay, yes, to editing the
about?
text, uh, which is amazingly written, and of course few things, okay, yes, of course it's a human error, but Syl is not editing for just for the grammar, or for the punctuation, or for something like this. The editing is he is doing is for others to understand from their perspective also,
Very important.
and to understand their perspective from where they are coming from. And it's a very different deal, because when I'm reading and I try to, of course, this is what I have learned. So what I try to read it as make my as I can make my mind neutral, no matter
Right.
how many
And
times I've
also
read
that
of
it's
it.
reading it as if it's unfamiliar. The
Yes,
context.
yes, no matter how many times I have already read this one, or okay, most of the time it is not. It's a new stuff for me, but the concepts are I'm more or less aware of it. But
No.
when I'm reading it, I'm trying to, of course, it's an appropriateness. This is the appropriateness for this. But also, I am practicing to disconnect from expectations, assumptions, and shoulds.
No.
So it's a lot involved into just reading these things. Just by reading all these things with this intent, it is an application of so many concepts and perspectives from way of impeccability and moreness. And also that when I'm doing this, and Syl is changing it. He is he is, for me, of course, he is practicing a lot of other things, but also he is practically giving us example how to not get stuck
No.
by your ego,
No.
how to not get stuck in any nonsense, and be open with the student mindset to learn and to grow all the time, no matter if even if you are a master of it still. And that is something really profound for me, to experience this in real time. I'm saying things, okay, it is not making sense, and you're whatever, okay, because it is not making sense to me. It doesn't matter that, of course, it doesn't mean that the text itself, the content itself is not making sense. No, most of the time things doesn't make sense to a reader, because it's new for us. We never been aware of, or not known to this type of understanding and perspective before. So for me, when I'm reading it, it is like, oh, most of the time it's a moment for me. Oh my God. Okay, it's too much. It's big thing. It's a big deal for me to understand from this perspective. And I get amazed all the time, or every single time I get amazed by that. Oh my God. Okay. And also that, again, most obvious one is there is always more. And it is a proof of that there is always more, because I'm reading it. I know I have heard these things from Syl. I'm kind of aware of it. I'm not saying completely aware of it, because you never can be. So I'm saying that I'm kind of aware of it, but still sometimes it just blow my mind, like, oh, why I was not able to think like this. This openness, this open-mindedness, actually, this is the real open-mindedness. When we are saying that, oh, okay, no matter how, even if Syl has written all these things, he is reading it like, oh, it's a new thing.
No.
And he's open to change it. He's open to update this. He's open to modify, edit, whatever it is. This
Right.
is what real mindedness.
I love that, Beena. It's really cool. It's very important to be able to do this. It's really
Yes.
crucial because if you're writing, you know what you're saying, but the people that are going to be reading it, they don't necessarily know what you're saying. Now, depends how and why you're writing. Like when the Biella series, that's I'm writing what I would like to read for stories. But in this, because Biella specifically answering somebody's questions, it's tricky because she has to make sure not only that you know it's generally understandable, but also she has to go into the question a little bit and try and get into the mindset of the person asking it to answer specifically to them. But also, because she doesn't give a conventional answer, a simple, easy answer, she gives depth and complexity. And this is complicated to share, right? It's not what we normally understand. And so you have to get past assumptions, which is exactly ties into the next chapter we're going to read. Huh? So let's get right to it.
Yes.
Let's get right to it. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, screen. Here we go. All right, and I like the see Beena thinking here. I got a picture of Beena thinking away, doing all these things, contemplating, and writing her notes. There's Beena's. That looks like coffee, not tea, but no, it's a teacup, so tea. When I was a kid, this is what we drank coffee out of. Then mugs came along. Mugs was a new thing in the 70s, and then we
Mhm.
stopped using this, saucer and a teacup, and we drank coffee out of mugs, and tea was in the teacup. Anyway, I like the picture though. It's a pretty cool picture, right? Could be Beena, could be the reader, could be me. All right.
Oh,
You want to
yes.
read, Beena? You want to read?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, good. You can. Oh,
And
good.
luckily I can see that and I can read
Ah,
that.
yeah,
Wow. Unhooking from assumptions. Again, see attunement. Okay.
exactly.
Can you achieve happiness through analysis and introspection?
First amateur from Ohio State before I became a master.
Go
Can you
ahead.
achieve happiness through philosophy? How do you figure out your life's purpose? What is MF?
It's just the initials of somebody.
Okay. Okay.
Martin Fielder. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to say call them MF.
Mephistopheles, friendship. Oh, good stand for him. Let's make it up.
Mediocre fellow. Yeah. Mediocre fellow.
Yeah. Or Moreness fellow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to read this again. Unhooking from assumptions. Can you achieve happiness through analysis and introspection? Can you achieve happiness through philosophy? How do you figure out your life's purpose? MF. Dear M, start by undoing the underlying assumptions typically inherent in that question. Usually, the assumption is that there is one life purpose. In addition, it is assumed that one's life purpose is out there somewhere, something predetermined. That might be, however, it is certainly also true we can have more than one life's purpose. We can have many at a time. And even more importantly, we can choose what we wish those life purpose to be and how many we would like to have. We can choose to hold on to these as long as it is appropriate. Again,
There's
again, why?
where Biella goes outside the norm. Yes, there's always this assumption of one life purpose. But why? If
Yes.
you have to have only one and to last your whole life, what happens? All right, like when you finish, you achieve your life purpose. Then what? Hmm. People don't think
And
it's
also that she made a huge point here that as long as it is appropriate,
correct.
that is the problem with the idea, conventional idea of life purpose is that because it is attached, it has been said or labeled in a way that it's a life purpose, which means it is going to be a lifelong assumption, and of course the
Exactly.
conventional conditioning of mind we assume that this is going to be for the whole life, which is of
Exactly.
course not true. My
Oh,
life purpose was completely okay. It was not a life purpose, but the idea somehow related to that was completely different to the one I have right now, and who knows that it will change. I am very positive about this, almost sure that it is not going to change, because now my idea of life purpose is not specific. It is not like,
exactly.
okay, it is more
Exactly.
abstract, like learning and growing and enhancing my awareness. This is the idea, which can be of course appropriate all the time. So but in the past, it was like, okay, yes, I will excel in this career and I will be like there and this and that. That was my life purpose at that time, which was of course uh, coated or tinted with the ambitious mindset, and that is a
Also, you
problem
could
with
be
that.
wrong. You can make a mistake. You can think, "Oh, this is my life's purpose," and realize, no. And then what? Then you stuck. That's why the as appropriate is so important. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly,
Very
exactly.
powerful. Very powerful being. Fine. It's a
Yes,
short
yes.
article, very short chapter. This book.
Reformulation. Another assumption is that a life purpose has to last a lifetime. Here she goes. If it does not, one might accomplish it and move on to something else or another one, or any number of options. That is, or any number of options was the
Uh,
missing key factor element there, which
exactly.
I was not aware of it. The key to it all is breaking free from assumption, developing discernment, and then applying this awareness to appropriateness. Wow. Yes. Using appropriateness as the root concept makes makes it all simple. Simply do what is appropriate to you and appropriate in all context. Appropriate
Uh,
according to what you want, a simplicity that will be consuming and fulfilling, thus answering your other questions as well, because the application of this is the implementation of those. Wow, what a beautifully said sentence here.
so I added this PS in here because I felt that the other didn't quite answer all the questions enough there. So let's see. Let's see what the PS says. What Biella says in the PS.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I need to read this one again because I didn't read Biella. I just want to do
Oh,
that.
oh, please.
Okay. Yes, a simplicity that will be consuming and fulfilling, thus answering your other questions as well. Because the application of this is the implementation of those, Biella. And hashtag life purpose, assumptions, reformulation, discernment, appropriateness, philosophy, application. I love philosophy application at the end.
Yeah.
Yes, this entire book and its companion, Z, when read with your questions in mind, will greatly contribute to resolving what you need and desire. There is an underlying philosophy to all I share, the philosophy of appropriateness. Just the name alone is enough when thought through to lead happiness. Also, we don't necessarily need to figure out a life purpose. We can choose one or many.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I feel like even there it's not fully answered. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, because not the happiness part by analysis and introspection. The
Well,
happiness.
I think she said, yeah, uh,
How?
this philosophy of appropriateness, just the name alone, when thought through, uh, will lead to happiness.
Yeah, what the other question was that, okay,
Oh,
can
to
we
me.
acquire or can we get happiness through analysis and introspection or not?
Yes,
That's the
yes,
question.
yes. Okay. All right, let's do the next one.
Yes.
Oh, more thoughtfulness. Been a very thoughtful today. Been a very thoughtful. Thank you. Great.
It is.
Forward
For
to-
me, it is just uploading. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Lots of thoughts, lots of thoughts, lots of thoughts going on. Lots of different aspects, perspectives. Oh, this is a very interesting question. You know, this one came up actually. Uh, this was asked by Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's Biella answering to Mark Zuckerberg, but he posted it as an open question on Facebook. So all of
Hmm.
this comes from him, Mark
Okay.
Zuckerberg,
Okay.
Facebook guy. Right? And
Yes.
it was at
It
that
is.
time when Facebook was having troubles because of people being unethical, and they were called up in front of Congress and everything. It was a big deal.
Hmm.
So it's interesting I mean, just a bit of backstory, right? That when you read those questions now, yes, yeah,
Hmm.
she made it a general answer because it was an open question. So
Yes. Okay. Imperative ethics. What can I do to transform my business? My organization is suffering from poor decisions by employees and is struggling to deal with the problems relating to information. It's a massive PR problem for us. How do I make my company relevant in today's climate? Dear organization leader, CEO, a corporate policy and focus on ethics will radically transform your organization. The underlying and, of course, often overt focus is on profit. The typical employees just takes for granted this is the only goal. Sadly, the goal of profit is easily subverted, especially by the winning mindset, which does whatever in the name of its objective. However, if ethics and being ethical are seen as the way to be cool inside the company, if being ethical becomes a point of pride, this focus becomes radically transformative. Your organization's mistake, those glaring missteps you aim to correct, all would not and could not have happened if being ethical had been the number one consideration in the company. Profits can be made ethically, easily. In today's world, despite being the right thing to focus on, it would also be a revolutionary and enlightened step toward the obvious. Garnering much public support. As one person, it's difficult to resolve all problems. But as one person, you personally, significant leader, you do get to set your organizational or corporate culture. If you wish to have any hope of your entire, sorry, of
yeah,
your
so
entity surviving beyond the next few years, a, a shift away from the inadvertent greed culture promoted by a focus only on profit and personal achievement to a culture of ethics and more than profit only is vitally imperative. Of course, profit is important, it pays the checks, but as a matter of motivation, doing what's good and meaningful, helping the world, and doing so ethically is monumentally more empowering, causing employees to want to work. This is something I want to listen in the podcast because this is the real application right there that how you can implement all these ideas and perspectives in the real time in the practical corporate culture that okay how to change how to really transform the society if you really want to be because everyone wants to change the world everyone wants to do change the other people but how actually and this is something
hmm,
completely out of everything like okay no culture specific culture thing no specific religious thing no specific national things involved here just pure ethics and appropriateness which is of course going to encourage that And by doing so, of course, if just for an example, if we have 1,000 employees, of course, those 1,000 employees, if they will have this environment, they are going to actually project this behavior into their families. So at least 1,000 more families are going to be, at least 1,000 families
Exactly.
are going to have a
Exactly.
different mindset, different culture, because this person is coming not from a stressed job, but coming from the good heart, good mind, and relax, and of course having a joy in life. It is going to, of course, project, being projected in the
Uh,
family also, and then of course the children will grow up into this.
In
So
other
just
words,
one thing.
our next heading
Yes.
here. That's what you're saying. Cultivated culture.
Yes. So this is something I want to hear
Beena,
in the
I've said I'm
podcast.
going to share Way-of-Impeccability. Talk about it, not do it, but share about it. And from the focus of how it could apply to children, but I'm also going to add how it applies to person. Okay,
Yes.
good point. All right, keep going on this about
Cultivated
ethics now,
culture.
in the company. Yeah, I think Bialla's going to answer your question right here.
Oh, yes. Okay. Cultivated culture. If you truly wish to address those problems, fix the root cause, not the symptoms or consequences. Making the shift to ethics being the principal culture and focus of your system will be revolutionary. It will require courage, as you, your employees, and your company are held to this standard. But the external pressure can be used as positive leverage, further enhancing the value of the shift to ethics first. Perhaps you might want to start hashtag ethics first. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant hashtag. Okay. Maybe you'll resolve those problems, and likely will to some degree. However, there is a problem which is mightily difficult to resolve, and that's the problem of being the big guy. One of the downsides of success. You become the enemy over time by mere virtue of size and success. The problems of corporate organization culture are, of course, magnified disproportionately when under the scrutiny brought about by the extra attention resulting from being an outsized giant in success. I firmly believe the only way to counteract this inevitable rot is to
Uh-huh.
make ethics the firm, resolute commitment and culture of your employees. Successfully making ethics the first consideration of your organization will be that bulwark against the undeserved criticism large business entities attract, showing rather than promising by way of such a profound culture shift will be massively influential, not only as to how to practically implement, but the wider public discussion this will engender. Changing the world begins at home. In your case, a large and influential home. Beautiful. It doesn't take much to see how your troubles would not have happened if a culture of ethics first had been in place. Those mistakes of judgment could not have occurred. They only did because of the assumption of profits first, ethics second. If ethics was even in consideration at all, if you truly wish to do something meaningful and impactful, start with prioritizing ethics. Sincerely, your potential customer, Biella Noble.
Now, sincerely, comma there, your potential
And she's saying
customer,
Biella Noble.
Biella
And
Noble.
she's saying,
Right, not
yes,
just Biella, but she's signing it quite formally, right?
yes,
Letter almost, because in this case, it was an open letter. That's what he called it.
yes.
Open letter to all my, all the Facebook people, whatever. I don't know what he called it. Anybody connected to that. So, yeah, so that's why she signed it this way. And I posted it in response to his post. It was actually posted in the comment. Ah,
Hmm.
here's a fun one. It's a little different. Different whole everything about this is, going from corporate culture to MMO, games. Yeah. And if you don't
Yes.
know about gaming, so this was really interesting. You'll see. You'll see. The thing is self-explanatory. I don't need.
Hmm. The game of
I
life.
see yeah, okay. So this is the gaming thing, playing, the controller. Yeah. Although for MMOs, you typically don't use the controller. Usually people play them off the PC and use your keyboard. But all right, get that.
Okay.
Those ignorant of gaming, they might criticize, or I mean, those no knowledgeable about gaming might say, "Hey, MMOs, they do have them on console, but the majority is on PC." All right,
Okay. The game of life. Can online games like MMOs be meaningful? Uh,
IRL
Dear
in
game.
real life, IRL in real life.
Okay. That's why I was saying, okay,
And
dear game.
the text to speech also read it as Earl.
Yes.
No, it's IRL. Yeah. Gotta get
Dear
modern,
game.
Beena. You gotta be a gamer because that's gaming language. You see, they use those abbreviations and acronyms.
Yes. I know that because you do a lot.
Yeah, convenient.
Dear gamer. Yeah. Dear gamer, I'll start with the end. It's just as relevant as a beginning. Wow. We are inherently, it seems, predisposed to dislike and avoid uselessness and meaninglessness. Meaninglessness.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you just shifted and it was for me jump to
Oh, yeah.
another
I had to add
slide.
a comma there. That was necessary.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm reading it again. We are inherently, it seems, predisposed to dislike and avoid uselessness and meaninglessness. If we can therefore find a perspective on the world where everything suddenly becomes useful and meaningful, our interest is stimulated, life makes sense, and when life makes sense, we find living a whole lot easier. Just a proof, just a tiny bit of proof of how our minds are so attuned with being productive, being useful, being meaningful, and all these things that my tongue was struggling to read uselessness and meaninglessness.
Well, your tongue isn't useless
It
or meaningless.
it was like usefulness. It was like coming and I had to grab it like, uselessness, not usefulness, because we are so attuned with this usefulness, meaningfulness. So yes, Biella, you got it again. Your question connect to a conversation I had with a dear friend. It's particularly relevant as it includes more general gaming explanations for those not familiar. MMO basics. E. I don't remember if I shared this particular perspective with you or not. The one of replaying life. Huh? The one of replaying life.
Oh, we're gonna see what this means. Yeah.
This idea like really hit me. Replaying life. Okay.
Yeah. I think I need to make this, into a capital L thing.
Okay. The one of replaying life. For this, MMOs, the online gaming virtual worlds, are most interesting. As a player, I make a character, an avatar, and then I can run around the world and do whatever I can do that and I can do that and interact with other people doing the same. There are characters in the game who are part of the environment, not actual real people. They are referred to as NPCs, non-player characters. There is individual freedom to play the game in a huge range of ways, much like life. We can interact with other players as little or as much as we want. But when I look at all this from an abstract perspective and take the MMO, massively multiplayer online, this particular form of gaming as being basic representation of life and is still in the early stages compared to the real world, it opens many interesting avenues. In all the MMOs, one starts by creating a character to play as. The range of choices vary, but there are many commonalities. Decisions like race, class, profession, function, and so on. Those usually determine traits and abilities and influence what we can learn and acquire in game.
Where is that thing going? Oh, there we go. Okay.
The games have play Okay, the games have play objectives. Most of these are based on what is considered fun, a concept which is evolving rapidly. Most of the fun comes from some sort of achievement. Thus, this type of fun is an expression of or function of the ego paradigm. Games are evolving. In the early days, one had to do massive amount of work in order to acquire the achievements. But it's changing. Other joys such as exploration, learning, mystery, story, and more are becoming the point of playing. And of course, these goals will evolve further.
I just want to put grind in there. In the early days, one had to do massive amounts of work in inverted commas, grind. That's what they call it in gaming terms, grind.
Okay,
Yeah, in order to
okay,
acquire the achievements.
yes. Eventually, games will come to spirituality and self growth as goals. It's somewhat inevitable, as these are the ultimate once the hollowness of ego achievement and admiration of others, which is the heart of the current system, no longer yields value, then all that's left is what truly matters and it of interest.
Yeah.
Self improvement in whatever form it represents to us, which is what gives us the most fun. Gaming does this already, just indirectly.
Oh, well, I love this picture. One of my favorites. I shouldn't have favorites, but I really like it.
Yes.
Very cool. Nice picture of Biella there. Thinking of playing games on the laptop. Okay. Oh,
Other perspective. Gaming is excellent in so many ways. Even what people perceive as the sorry as the negative. It's it's a bait from a universal perspective. Have to get people interested somehow. Also, all that has led to the gaming industry being a leading industry, much bigger than the movie industry for a while now. It drives computer technology, for instance, and affects so much, but that's a whole other thread. I am on something else. The main theme is character, creation, and what we do afterwards. To me, the games are a massive philosophical exercise, but that too is another thread. Let's extrapolate into the future. Let's suppose games have evolved to the most sophisticated level possible. At present, we have worlds one can move around in, but they are still worlds viewed on a monitor with virtual reality. Now, here, the immersion factor has taken on a new level. One believes one is actually there, a big deal. But of course, we aren't physically there. This movement is a limitation. An extension to complete the immersion would be an implant, which tricks the brain, much like we dream. The mind internally has no sense of reality. Let's take this further. If the brain is literally opened, like when they do brain surgery, actual physical stimulus of the brain can cause a person to experience feelings, tastes, sights, sounds, whatever, as if they were real. But of course, in that case, It's clearly obvious it isn't. Similarly, there are ways to stimulate the brain electronically, and now, of course, there is also the technology of connecting the brain external device to external devices and controlling them. Prosthetics and computer control for the disabled, and so on. The prosthetic limbs are felt in a way, and that's what allows their use more natural. Wow.
I don't know where Biela's going with this. I'm quite
Yes,
interested.
yes. Okay, I guess I'm understanding. These are early days, but it's not far-fetched to see how we can easily connect the brain to virtual reality and to stimulate the brain to actually believe it's completely immersed in a virtual world, to experience it as real, especially if the virtual world is one which is realistic instead of fantastical. Stick with me. I am going somewhere with all of this. Okay, so you write this when? You wrote this when?
Before virtual reality came out. So wow,
Exactly. So you need to make some notes into that it's been
we'll
written
just keep going.
long
You'll see
long
it will all fall into place in a moment now. Yeah, keep going, sweetness. Where'd you go, Bina?
Yes, yeah, just a minute. I was just
Oh,
sitting for it. Okay. Playing like it's real. Let's skip ahead to where we are able to immerse fully into a game, to where that immersion and real life is the same. Now let's also ask ourselves, what would we do with a game like that? One that is indistinguishable from real life.
see now, yeah, now it comes in. Now all that build up is now starting to fall into place, right?
If we are sophisticated gamers and have played all the usual types of games and have progressed on to what is truly important for us, which in the end is self change, then the game's experience takes on a whole other perspective. When it comes to learning and self improvement, often it's difficult or even impossible to actually change and implement what we know is better and what we want. Force of habit and brain patterning is a very powerful force. We can get locked into ways of beings we know are not ideal. We can see the flaws and yet be unable to change them. So, how would we remedy this? We would have to start over. We would have to set up our development in such a way that we avoid making the same mistakes or being exposed to the same influences and inputs which caused us to develop the habits of being that we don't want. We also would, if we could, go about setting up an environment which would prompt us to learn what we believe is what we need to learn. Of course, this is a most sophisticated game we are talking about, one where we get to be the game designer also to a large extent. The character creation is taken to the maximum level. We decide what character traits we keep and just how blank we start. If we start with a memory of our previous life, the entire purpose of leveraging ourselves into changing will be for nothing. So we can't remember. We have to go into the new game ignorant. We can keep certain traits or characteristics, ones we have already acquired, ones we deem to be essential, and ones that do not lead to other undesirable qualities, traits or characteristics that, like, say, patience or loving, generosity, caring, etc. The characteristics we take with us is a most tricky business. For what we think are good qualities are not always so. Take caring of, for instance, It seems on the surface to be an undeniable good, but we know all too well, okay, or we know all too well how we can get into trouble via inappropriate caring, and also how we have been troubled by the caring of others. They were well meaning, but nonetheless caused harm or stress.
Wow, what a picture! What a painting! Wow. All right, Biella's going somewhere, so we have to trust. We have to trust. I'm starting to get an idea of where she's going, so stick with it.
Assuming purpose. This all leads to the perspective of living a life as if we have deliberately set up everything, as if we had done so in a sophisticated game, the purpose of which was to affect self change. If this idea, okay, to affect self change. If this idea is adopted, then everything makes a whole lot more sense. It doesn't, of course, matter in the least if it's true or not. We can get usefulness from simply, or okay, we can get use from simply relating to life as if it were so. If we adopt this perspective, then everything becomes meaningful, purposeful, and we are then focused on the learning, the changing, the identifying of what it is we need to learn and change, focused on why exactly we made the character creation choices in this life we live now, under the assumption that we are now, in fact, actually in a game. It leads us to consider our characteristics and to evaluate the characteristics themselves. What are the traits and characteristics which are truly valuable in all circumstances? Which abilities lead us to the maximum range of freedoms? Now, if, for instance, I choose to have musical ability, does that not influence the effect and shape my life to a path which would involve music? It raises the probability of being a musician, and that might not be desirable. And any talent, thus, is a likely limiting factor when it comes to our range of options. Perhaps why most choose not to have specific talents. To play the game of life, it's thus essential to master the character creation part of the game and to do what we have to identify what is important to us, what truly matters. Not only that, but we have to fully understand the influencing factors, how they work, how they interact, how they extend into the future, and how they make a difference. We have to learn to think in the abstract when it comes to our characteristics, how these influence in unanticipated ways, unintended consequences, a major factor in all of this, and in game development in general. Using the game. The key aspect in all this is having an idea or concept of what life is all about. Once we move past the limited notion that is it's about surviving and it's actually about evolving. It all changes. Then we have a focus. Now we can use the idea of evolving ourselves and focus on that. If we utilize the idea of being in a game of our own design, one geared to facilitating our evolution, we come to see the world we live in and our lives in a whole new way. The overall viewpoint,
Nope, nope, the underlying reality. We skipped the line.
yeah, from an oh, the underlying reality doesn't matter all that much, and what's actually true or not within from an overall viewpoint. What matters is our perspective. If we can get usefulness via perspective, the value is real. That's what matters. In the end, it's the actual change of self that's the issue. That's key. How we come to that change does not matter. Okay. The concept of the world being an elaborate game we are living in, one where we choose ourselves, choose our starting circumstances like
Chose.
we do in what, sorry?
One where we chose ourselves. Past tense, not
Okay,
present.
yes, okay. We chose our starting circumstances like we do in virtual games, virtual world games, in a marvelous tool, is a marvelous tool which allows us to look at life in a fantastically useful way. Everything takes on a new meaning, everything has use, and then there's the idea we may, in some way, be able to influence the game in ways which give us hints and clues in what to learn, what direction we want ourselves to go in, what we want to avoid re experiencing, and so on, what we want to decondition ourselves from, and more, much more. Part of the character creation would entail ourselves, would entail setting up these reminders and hints. If we are too direct and run the risk of programming ourselves, which we want to avoid. Awareness, true awareness, has to come about organically by itself. Otherwise, it isn't true awareness, but a program. Since our goal is to evolve toward true freedom, we have to be most careful and considerate of the awareness process.
Yeah. Are you struggling to see the words, Beena? You seem to be.
No, it was getting blur again and again. So it was getting clear
Oh,
and then getting blurred.
oh, oh, I was wondering why. Okay. Is it clear now?
Yes. Yeah, it's not like continuously blur. Then I would say that. But it is getting
Yeah,
clear
that's
and then
very
getting blur again.
interesting. It's very interesting. Oh,
That's why I was assuming some words. I was just like, okay, yes, trying to figure out.
wow. Wow.
It's a network thing, still the bandwidth or
Yeah,
something like, okay,
yeah.
they are having problem with. So sometimes it gets like for a second or two, it gets blurred and then it gets clear again. That's why I was having problem. Underlying conception. How we think about what life is all about makes a huge difference to how we live it. It does not matter in the least how true the idea of what it is all about actually is. What matters is how much actual real usefulness we can get from our conception. This is the question to ask. How much does my current conception of the world lead to actual usefulness when it comes to my evolution? Now I need to read this again. This is the question to ask. How much does my current conception of the world lead to actual usefulness when it comes to my evolution? For me, the utilitarian value is real. It's only the idea that's needed, the perspective, the imagining that it might be so, then using the value gained from leveraging the way we live and relate to events and happenings, how we make choices, and what we deem valuable as characteristics, attributes, and so on. Thus, the entire perspective is about leveraging our everyday life. We can leverage our lives regardless of whether something is true or not. A most critical understanding to me, a most valuable one. We can get too concerned with whether things are true or not. The real question is really, how can this be used to get value? How this can this be used to get value? When we ask that question, we can get value from everything. Adding a perspective to life that gives it meaning and purpose adds huge amounts of value. We are inherently, it seems, predisposed to dislike and avoid uselessness and meaninglessness. If we can therefore find a perspective on the world where everything suddenly becomes useful and meaningful, our interest is stimulated. Life makes sense, and when life makes sense, we find living a whole lot easier. Biella.
I don't know. Seems to me like maybe the question can be answered a bit more, no?
Yes.
Uh, well, I mean, just can MMOs be can online game like MMOs be meaningful? I guess it does, and I think there's maybe just to answer that specifically.
This virtual reality thing that okay, the games can going to be so highly sophisticated where you will not find it will be hard to find a difference between the reality and the virtual reality. uh, Someone was sharing about the sophistication of virtual reality now, and they were quoting an incident that a girl who were into okay, I don't know that it was a private setup. They were having this like, to experience virtual reality, or it was part of experience or like experiment or something. I'm not aware of this the details of it, but what they were sharing that this girl, she had experienced that okay, experienced is this right word to say that uh, via virtual reality, that she was being abused by many people uh, in that process. So the question everybody was asking that how her mind was captured, that she, because she before going into that virtual reality experience, she was aware that okay, she's going to have this. So why didn't she just put it off instead of struggling and trying to fight and all those things? Why she was not doing that? So
Who knows?
when Biella was saying that
Well,
yes, so that was that because she's now being on the therapy and counseling and all sort of things she is going through. But the question was that okay, why? Of course, many answers for that. First, maybe in she might not want to. Okay, I'm not saying that. Okay, it's not a nice thing to say, but I'm just uh, to add a perspective. It's a possibility that okay, she might not want to.
yeah,
Second, that she was too horrified with that, so the survival or the defense mechanisms in her mind was completely paralyzed. Okay, and she was feeling like helpless and all that. And the third perspective, of course, out of many, can be that when we get into this virtual reality in a virtual world, our mind was literally tricked that this is the reality. So it was not even a thought that she can go out of it.
yeah,
So even if it is just a made up thing, I don't know, because I listened to someone who was sharing online, of course, that this is what happening. This is what is happening with the virtual reality. But of course the question was that okay, why she was not. So the three possible out of many perspectives, of course, three possible possibilities were like okay, the sophistication of the game or the virtual reality is getting so high that even the thought was not coming, even the idea was not coming.
yeah.
And what, so this is what Biella was saying that okay, if we assume, so now we can actually experience that in at some level,
Exactly,
or
exactly.
maybe it is very soon that we all have access to this
So
type of things. Okay,
read the PS
yes.
afterwards.
Playing online games is thus very meaningful to me as I see it as a way to practice living. Yes, it's a different perspective on gaming, completely different
Right,
perspective.
right. I mean, that makes it meaningful. It's very meaningful
Yes.
because you can get to practice living. You don't get
Yes.
opportunity. And especially now that she's saying as the games get more and more, well, she was making the point that games are eventually going to be indistinguishable from real life. Yeah. And so
Yes.
let's go into the future of where that is. I mean, now this is starting to happen, as with this woman that you said, right? But if
Yes.
that, and then we start to extrapolate from there and go into it in detail, we see what's important. And what's important is how we are, our self-conception, our self-abilities, and all this, right? How we are characters, people. And when you start to connect onto this side, then the game starts to be very meaningful, because we can get value out of it, as he says. So let's answer the question, I guess. All right, all right. So we get more philosophers here. Three questions of all thinking and considering, but most of the questions are like that. But it just happens to be that we had that philosophy and happiness, and now somebody asked, but they're completely unrelated. But somebody asks here, the next one. All right, so read this one, Veena.
Yes. Just want to add something before for my own
Yeah.
understanding, because the idea of in the religion Islam, the idea that okay, we all okay, maybe it is common to other religion also, but I have only knowledge about this one. So they say that okay, all the souls we all were before coming into this physical world, we were choosing all these things. We were aware of all these things, what is going to happen, and how the life will be, but
Uh-huh.
we still choose. And after coming to this physical world, this existence, we just forget. So it is a kind of a virtual reality concept from the religion also, at least one religion, that this is, and they keep saying that it's an illusion. It's an illusion because the real life is out somewhere else. Okay, they say that okay, the life you are living, it's limited, and of course it's not an eternal life. And you were making, and it is going to be the question for Muslims, at least they say that they are going to be asked, and they are going to be actually remember all those promises they were making before coming into this world, because everything is going to be a choice. And they will say that okay, yes, and then they will be aware, and they're like, oh wow. So we it is for the test, because they say that also in the almost exact words, that this world is like a like examination hall for you. You are here for limited time, perform what you have committed, and
Exactly.
then of course you will get an evaluation of your doings and deeds and all those things. And they say that in Quran many times I have seen similar words like illusion, which can be as a virtual reality for this world. So for me, it can be like we are living in a virtual reality right now.
Exactly, and it is in other religions. This is
Yes.
in Indian religious culture or philosophical culture that goes even before there were religions. The world is all is mind. Yeah, that's how they sort of express it. Right, the world reality, it's all mind. That's specifically how I've seen it written anyway. So yes, illusion, Maya, right? Maya is illusion. All Maya, right? Maya. So it's a concept that's very old, that goes back very, very far back before religions were religions. Yeah, you know.
And this is very
So in
interesting.
Christianity, this
Even
idea is there too. Yes,
yes,
meaning the
exactly.
word, and the word moved upon the face of the void or the waters, depending on which it's written twice in Christianity, which is the same thing. It all starts with word, which is fantastic, right? And if you think about it, one word in nothingness is going to lead to more, right? Doesn't matter which word you choose, it all starts to create more. And, there's void, it's concept, in other words, word, concept. Fascinating. So, yeah, it's a common theme that we live in this created reality, a virtual reality. And then, you go really into Christianity with Jesus, Christianity,
Yes.
he taught
Yes.
fluid reality. And I know I've mentioned this before. People say, what do you mean? I never saw
Yes.
the fluid reality in the New Testament. Yes, I'm putting it in there because I'm just I'll explain in a moment, right? Whenever he
Yes.
did a miracle, whenever he performed a miracle, what did he say afterwards? Always the same thing. He said, "You can do this also. You just need to believe. You just need to have faith. But everybody, you can do this." And he said, "You can literally move those mountains there." It's very specific in making this very literal that you can change the world. Now, if you can move those literal mountains over there, literally move the mountains, then reality is fluid. It's not rigid. It's not fixed as we assume it to be. Same thing, walking on water, healing things. We assume realities in a specific way, and Jesus came and said, "No, that's what a miracle is." But but the word miracle implies it's rare, unusual, exceptional. But he was trying to say, no, it's not a miracle. You can do this. Anybody can do this. Everybody can do this. Now, of course, he didn't go further, unfortunately, and say you need to be impeccable if you're going to be changing the world. It's consequential. But the implication that our world is fluid, flexible, adaptable, shiftable. In other words, the same concept as virtual reality. Where what Biella was saying, that if you think of virtual reality world as one where you are both the player and the programmer, then we start to get to where life is. You're both the player and the programmer. Huh? From his
Yes.
perception, you say you can change it. It's not new to him. It's a very old concept. Very, very old concept. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So there's a lot to that whole idea of getting value, and that, Biella goes about it in kind of a long roundabout way a little bit, because he's also providing some sort of value for what online games are. Most people, MMO, what's that? No clue whatsoever. So that's why it's a little longer, and it's a bit of building the foundation for creating games, virtual reality, all of this. It's not something that everybody's familiar with. The game or the question, a person asked the question, yes, but the questions are asked in a public forum, so she's got to explain a little bit. Very cool. Yeah.
Yes.
I think the little PS on the end there puts it all into perspective, because one may get a little lost in the thing itself, right?
Yes.
Where's Norma?
How do we know?
Uh,
Okay.
Norma yet? Norma
Yes.
is online, but I don't know if I'm just not seeing the comments, or I'll read
Oh, okay.
it. Anyway, you
Hello,
can
Norma.
keep going, Beena.
Okay. How do we know which philosophers to trust? Dear questioner, everyone has a philosophy, whether they are aware of it or not,
One moment,
whether it's an
one
effect.
moment. We missed all of Norma's wonderful questions. Sorry, Norma. Norma says, sorry, only just aware. Don't be sorry, Norma. Don't ever be sorry about anything. It means about coming on. Don't ever be sorry, Norma. Don't ever be sorry. Hello, 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 Norma. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
Beena
Norma.
holding the fort. Yeah, FORT. But it says fort. The other fort. The autocorrect. And do you have a cold? It does look like Venus got a little bit of a cold. Yeah, a little bit. A stuffy nose.
Yes. Yes, a bit. Yes.
We'll try to watch from the beginning later. Thought you knew that. I live by it. Yes, that's most wonderful. Most wonderful. You live by many marvelous things, Norma. You live by many marvelous things. Why are you so marvelous and wonderful? All right. How do we know which philosophers to trust? Good question.
Okay. Dear questioner, everyone has a philosophy, whether they are aware of it or not, whether it's an effective philosophy or not. The jargonization of the concept of philosophy is sad. But one simply has to listen to music lyrics, for instance, to see how philosophy is alive and well in everyday life, and in memes, of course. I watched a video once which listed 3 spiritual exercises pulled from ancient philosophers: meditation of death, premeditation on future evils, assuming a view from above, or as I would call them, death as an advisor, extrapolation, positive, overview, context, or universal perspective. I love how the same things can get said over and over again, but in different words. Once we look beyond the particular terms, much starts to align, and much is actually the same, despite seeming completely different at first.
Oh, me. Oh,
Credit.
oh, me. The Norma says, do I have a cold? No. I don't know why I'm at this hand. My nose is blocked, but I don't have a cold. Yeah. It's just a little, I don't know from what. Just not clear. So, a little bit. I'm good otherwise. I'm good otherwise. I have no idea why.
Credibility.
Yeah. All right. So this is cool. This is cool. We're gonna get into some. Yeah. Right. And, once.
However, one problem.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how
No,
this
you want to add something?
is said over and over again, but in different words. Once we look beyond the particular terms, much starts to align, and much is actually the same, despite seeming completely different at first. I just wanted to read that again. I missed it. So I was reading Norma's
Yes.
comments there. Paying attention to Norma. Norma deserves much attention. Norma's wonderful. All right, credibility, where we get to now answering the question.
Yes. However, one problem is, oh, you're saying something, Sil, and it was not coming through your voice.
Credibility. I just said credibility.
Okay. Credibility. However, one problem is persistent from ancient philosophy to modern. The problem of credibility. How exactly we determine credibility is crucial. There is a tendency, a bias, to ascribe validity according to the status of the originator. This is subtle and problematic. Many will say, but I disagree with so and so. However, their selection of who to agree or disagree with is from the experts.
This sentence again.
That's a limited selection influenced by this bias, limiting and dangerous. This
Read
bias
it.
not only narrows.
Bina, read from our ever because it was a little chopped up and we didn't get the meaning of it.
Okay, however, their selection of who to agree or disagree with is from the experts. Thus, a limited selection influenced by the bias, limiting and dangerous.
By this
This
bias.
bias,
By this bias.
yes,
Yeah. Okay. The
this
bias of
bias,
yeah.
yes.
Right, right, right.
This bias not only narrows the options but causes disregarding and ignoring of much which comes our way that's valuable. We tend to disagree and ignore what
This
doesn't come, disregarded and ignore what doesn't come from an expert or a supposedly credible source.
read that
Instead
again.
of evaluating, this bias not only narrows the options but causes disregarding and ignoring of much which comes our way that's valuable. We tend to disregard and ignore what doesn't come from an expert or a supposedly credible source instead of evaluating based on pure merit. And most importantly, it can lead to dismissal of self as a valid source.
Hey, that's
Wow,
very
yes,
huge here. I'll read it again. We tend to disregard and ignore what doesn't come from an expert or a supposedly credible source instead of evaluating based on pure merit. That's huge what Biella is saying, right? And most importantly, it can lead to dismissal of self as a valid source. Big point. Big point. Well done, Biella. Well done.
in the end, we are the deciders. There is no getting around that. If we are going to decide on what to agree and disagree with, then we'd better be capable of being able to determine why exactly. With someone a reasonable expectation of the effectiveness of
Some,
our
some.
okay, with some reasonable expectations of the effectiveness of our deciding process. Thus, if we are going to be deciding, we are in essence saying we too are able to determine. In deciding, we too are philosophers. If we don't embrace this inescapable fact, it leads us to neglect the tools of deciding, the tools of figuring it out. Unless we have those, we will be forced to accept the impeccability and integrity of others. And to me, that's a chance I am reluctant to take. The individual and the individual alone is the final arbiter of truth, not the truth, of truth. The individual and the individual alone is the final arbiter of truth. The young man. We can't trust any but ourselves. Biella.
So that answers the question: which philosophers to trust? None. We can't trust any but ourselves.
Hmm.
Hmm. You have to take every philosopher as potentially being untrustworthy and decide for yourself whether they are or not. Right? And I'm almost tempted to include the Sophie story here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because this is the part for me, the most hitting one, of course, this the ourselves own philosophy, of course. But the second one was that we are so conditioned to 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 follow. We are so reluctant to take charge, to take responsibility of our own learning and growing. We're so keen to follow. And of course, the ego says that, okay, oh, I am born to follow. Then, okay, how I can satisfy my ego? By choosing someone who is something. So that's why this celebrity following and all these things. I follow that. I don't follow nobody's. No, I follow them. But you are following.
Exactly. You are choosing to follow them. Therefore, the decision of who is credible is yours. You can't get away from it. If I give you an answer who's credible or not, you still choosing to believe me. At the end of the day, you're always the one who chooses. The individual and the individual alone is the final arbiter of truth, says the young man. Yeah?
Yes.
You
And this
can't
is
get
so
away.
huge.
Inescapable. I'm really, really thinking very seriously to include here. We can't trust any but ourselves. And then maybe Biella can say, to illustrate this further, I have a story for you. And then include the Sophie story. Yeah?
Yes.
Because that's totally about which philosopher to trust. Yes?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I'll add that here. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Very cool. We're getting through a lot of chapters here today. Oh, hello, Biella. There we go. Wow. 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 I think this picture I'm using twice. I think it's N2. I'll have to have a closer look.
But this is beautiful.
Yeah. It's a cool picture. Yeah. But all right. It's all related, right? Meaningfulness. It's been a theme for the last couple of chapters. Yeah.
Yes.
If I could add to the spell check here, to Grammarly, like, come on, add it already. I use this a lot. Let me see if I can turn off Grammarly. I don't know what this is. I've never seen this here before. All right, well, never mind. I thought there was a way I could turn it off. Oh, there. All right. I did, I guess. Where'd you go, Beena?
Yes, I'm listening.
I'll keep going. I was just kind of talking, just saying about turning Grammarly off, and I did. So go ahead.
Okay.
Maybe I should drink on camera with my ugly bottle.
Gifts of example. How can I make things more meaningful, especially people? Dear King, we are all amazing. We are all gifts to each other. Gifts in so many ways. In one way in particular, the gift inherent in our way of being. I have long thought the value in stories, in movies, in music, in art lies in showing us ways of being. The
Read that
arts
again for
are
me,
all
please.
about showing us,
Just,
yes.
I'm not because you know how you're reading it, but just because it's really a potent point, a huge
Yeah.
point.
I have long thought the value in stories, in movies, in music, in arts lies in showing us ways of being. The arts are all about showing us such ways. We are inordinately fascinated with ways of living. We absorb them all, the villain and the hero, the loser and the aspirant, every variation we can imagine. Are we searching for the perfect way of being? Maybe. If we think about it though, is there is there any one particular way of being, way of living that is perfect for every situation? Wouldn't it be better to simply be able to be all the different ways of being? That way, we can be whatever we need to be, whatever is most appropriate in the circumstances. However, it's in the here and now that I'm interested. Yes, the long term overall perspective is always there, but it is the here and now that I have to deal with. I have to deal with those around me, those that come my way, and all of those are amazing. Each and every person is amazing, good or bad, or in between. An amazing gift of awareness, a gift of a way of being. Every person is a gift showing us an understanding of ways of being. The more we understand, the more we connect. Understanding is connecting. How awesome is that? Oh yes, understanding is connecting. This
Ah,
is this is actually okay. I was trying to say that what a way of impactability does for me, that it was like we connected all the pre-existing, of course, information, knowledge, and ideas and all that, but they were not connected. Now, what it does, it connects all that.
exactly.
Wonderful. Gift of awareness.
Read that last thing here.
Oh, yes. Every single person, everyone, each and every glorious person is a gift to us. Everyone. No exceptions. Everyone shows us a way of being. Every way of being is unique. Every way of being we encounter has something we can learn from.
Ah, all of them. It's a magical thing here.
Will you please just scroll it a bit?
We got a comment here from Joseph. He says,
Mhm.
"Your philosophy can't grow. Corn, walk away." Exactly. This is the focus always, Joseph, for both Biella and for me, and well, Beena too. If it's not practical, it's useless. That's why without application, it's all meaningless. It's just over and over and over. So all of this, people have a negative perception of philosophy as being all theoretical and of no value. But that, to me, I agree. If it doesn't have practical application value, then it is useless. But we need to make that connection between what we are reading, what we are hearing, and we need to plant it and grow corn, as you say. Absolutely. And that's why everybody's valuable, because when you see them as an example of a gift of, the gift of it is their way of being. And all ways of being have value for us because it shows us how we can be more appropriate in more circumstances. I learn from others how they are dealing with life, how they are appropriate or not. Either way, it's valuable. Right? So these are all, well, let's hear what Biella says more, because there's more to it, right? Let's keep going.
Yes.
Hello, Joseph. I'm still here, mate. I'm still here. It's very cool.
Gifts of awareness. Every person thus is a gift of awareness. And as such, every person is awesome. Everyone, regardless of their struggles, regardless of where they may be on their path. Only they can truly know that. Everyone is a precious gift for us. We but have to appreciate the gift, which they are within their own context. Everyone's way of being is relevant only unto themselves. It has value within their circumstances. How we are, how we live, how we react and respond, how we initiate, how we learn and grow, how we adapt. All these can only be viewed within the context of the individual's circumstances. Wow. The gift of awareness of others is how they show us their process, their way of being, how
Yeah.
they react to us. This shows us much. This is an awesome gift of awareness. If we are inordinately lucky, others share the details of their way of being. Will you please close this tab? Okay, now we're being with us. But just meeting anyone, just knowing them, even in the briefest of ways, is a gift. We know much more than we are aware of. Every way of being we encounter is a possibility, a potential, a choice, an opportunity. We get to see what we treasure, what we love, what is important to us, what matters.
Wow. I mean, that's huge what Biella's saying there, right? Anyone
Yes,
encounter, when we look at them as a way of being and we relate it to their context, their circumstances, it shows us what we treasure, what we love, what's important to us, what matters. We're not always aware of those acutely and clearly and consciously and deliberately. Right. Please keep going, Beena. Very cool. Very cool.
okay. All this we see from the ways of being of other. This is why all are awesome. Whatever their struggles, whatever they are. Yeah, it's is it the same thing again? No. Okay. Wherever they are on their path is irrelevant, as long as they are still going. It's awesome. Who is to know where a path leads, where it ends, if it ever ends? All we can do is travel our paths. All we can do is trust in our journey. And all we can do is appreciate the awesomeness of our journey and appreciate the awesome gifts which the journey of others are.
Oh, oh, wonderful.
Gift of appreciation. Every way of being is a treasure, a gift of grace. Every way of being shows us what can be, what is. Every way of being is a gift of awareness. All we have to do is open these gifts. We have to feel all these gifts, not only know them, we have to feel them as well. We have to feel everything. Otherwise, the world loses its sense. Biella.
If you're not feeling, it's pointless. That's the practical application to feel the thing. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, just go back to the question, how can I make things more meaningful, especially people? You really start paying attention to them. Everybody's going to show you something about yourself. That's incredibly meaningful. What's important, what matters. Just, you can get more into it, of course, with their psychology and all this if you want to study, but just on a very basic sense. You take their way of being and you look at it within their context and you say, oh, that's how they deal with these particular circumstances. If I were in those circumstances, those same ones, would I do the same way? Maybe, maybe not. But see, it's learning. So it's very, very, like people are very meaningful if you just simply look at it from this perspective. Very, 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 very valuable. I love the art here. Cool. Well done. So I'll appreciate efforts to create this art. I did. All right, so this is a very interesting chapter. This I remember this one, but I just want to refresh here and see if there's any more comments from Joseph and Norma, not Beena. I'm curious if there are any comments from Beena too. But we know this. I mean, this is what we do every day, right? I mean, we extract value and meaning from not just people but everything, right, Beena?
Yes.
I do like that. If your philosophy can't grow corn, walk away. Very cool.
Exactly. Perfect.
Without application, it's all meaningless. In other words, same thing. At least the way.
Yes.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. All right.
It is a bit blurry for me, sir.
I'll read then. Detrimental socializing. What are the unexpected hazards of socializing? What a fascinating question. What are the unexpected hazards of socializing? You know, it's like this person knew Biella to ask them that question. You're going to see now. Dear questioner, socializing and independence or difference of being are not necessarily compatible. Wow. Socializing and independence or difference of being are not necessarily compatible. Not only incompatible, but socializing can be detrimental to individuality. Holy moly. Particularly when the individuality is premised on different paradigms. A simple example would be a cooperative mindset and way of being in a competitive socializing environment. If socializing is adopted as an achievable goal and thus competitiveness is adopted and exercised, the cooperative underpinning easily becomes subsumed, leading to loss of self. Wow, wow. This type of adaptation and assimilation of values is for the most part inadvertent and subliminal in general. There is not a specific awareness of change. It all falls under the banner of socializing and fitting in. In essence, it's a subtle conformity, not conformity to societal conventions in general, but conformity to specific subsets of values and perspectives. In other words, peer pressure conformity. I think she's probably going to mention this. Yeah, but that's what she's talking about there. You know, if you're socializing and you're looking to fit in, and you end up being conforming to that little subgroup's values and culture. This is totally devastating to individuality very often. Wow, look at this picture to represent this now. Yeah, wow. True individuality, in contrast, individual who had the good fortune to not developing socializing skills as children have the benefit of developing their true individuality. The detriments of non-socializing as a child are relatively small compared to living an entire life as an adult according to the values and perspectives that do not truly resonate. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, that's a huge deal. Yes, and I see this all of the time. You know, in my side of me that deals with life change and self change, right? In the programs, in other words, that professional side of doing things, you know, counseling, etc. This is the common theme. People are living according to should. Where did they get that should from? They got it from socializing. Yes, and you know, social culture, social memes, more. But that when you're absorbing it, like just through the internet, it's a different thing to when you've got to apply it, which is socializing, interacting with people in a social environment. That's what it means, right? This is where you now are being under pressure to apply these things and share them and behave in certain ways. And those ways are very, very influential on people. And because they're not true to themselves, they learn to socialize. In other words, they learn to be a false them. It affects their whole life. It's a very, very big deal. So I'll start this again here. Yeah. True individuality. In contrast, individuals who had the good fortune to not develop socializing skills as children have the benefit of developing their true individuality. The detriments of non socializing as a child are relatively small compared to living an entire life as an adult according to values and perspectives which do not truly resonate. Living a lie in that way is deeply debilitating. The habit and acceptance of what is not self is so accustomed and ingrained that connection to the true predilections of self is inordinately obtuse. Wow, wow. Kind of fancily said there, Biella, but it's a powerful, powerful statement. As adults, we can develop the ability to maintain our unique preciousness and still socialize. As adults, we can develop the ability to maintain our unique preciousness and still socialize. We don't have to learn this as children necessarily. As adults, we have the capacity to comprehend appropriateness. We can differentiate between the various layers of behavior. As adults, we can perceive the virtue of interacting with a particular segment or aspect of our total self. This is not as easily achievable as children. Especially difficult for a child is to separate the understanding of appropriateness and falsity. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, yeah. The differences between privacy and secrecy is readily apparent to an adult. For a child, being forced into situations that require an excessive shift away from their core personage is fraught with potential and undesirable compromise. Wow. For me, the value of these perspectives lies in appreciating the treasure that is one's detailed and specific individuality. Appreciating precisely what was involved in maintaining that integrity of self as a child. Appreciating and understanding those mechanisms that allowed for both socializing as appropriate and maintaining the complexity of personal being. Wow, 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 wow. Very powerful stuff here. Very, very powerful stuff. Very useful, very practical stuff. Biella's growing corn like crazy over here. Explosive. Precious individuality. However, in adults, that is children, who as children, sorry. However, in adults, who as children did abrogate their particularness of personality and character in order to socialize, what is their remedy? Abrogate is to call back, to cancel out. Well, kind of fancy word there, Biella, maybe they change it. But anyway, use the dictionaries, people, your thesaurus. Thesaurus is usually better for giving the meaning of words than a dictionary, by the way. However, in adults who as children did abrogate their particularness of personality and character in order to socialize, what is their remedy? Their original likes and desires may be so buried that their influence is tangential. They live a false self. They are aware of this dissociation only via generalized disgruntlement, a lack of personal satisfaction, a lack of focus, a paucity of importance. There is a vague understanding that their lives are devoid of anything that truly matters to them. Or if they are precious of person, those are distinct and removed from connecting. This is a problem. To reconstruct the lost self of youth that never flourished to fruition is a challenge of self that requires a deconstruction of the current self, availing the unresolved self of the exploratory environment for redevelopment. Not an easy task in the least. In practice, this could be disruptive. Potential solutions reside in exploration and experimentation, delving into difference, trying simply for the sake of trying. This can be done in circumstances not connected to the norm, especially with the tools of variation that are at hand in the vicarious worlds of online extrapolation. We have today, we've got more tools, in other words. Wow. A deliberate dislocation from personal description is imperative. From personal description is imperative. A deliberate dislocation from personal description is imperative. A critical necessity to enable flexibility of perspective. Simultaneous unlatching from the particular conception of individuation needs to be maintained whilst foregoing recreation. While my eyes are a little bit blurry. Hang on, let me read that again. simultaneous unlatching from the particular conception of individuation needs to be maintained whilst foregoing recreating a specific new personal identity. The nascent self-perspective thrives if developed organically, incrementally, unfixed initially, enabling emergence of the untuned entity of enabled entirety and rediscovering the true self. Yeah. Very fancy writing from Biella, very different to some of the others. Yeah, I think Biella needs to make a PS about about the fancy writing. Yeah. There we go. All right. PS, I got a bit carried away with some fancy expression, but fun. For some variation and a different expression of self, an application of that exploration of being, in other words. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, she's demonstrating right there what she's talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Doing live now, Michaela, live now. Come hang out live. So yes, it's a little differently written, but I like this. And I was really thinking, yeah, maybe I should simplify it and rewrite it. But no, I want to leave it. Just skip the chapter or read it slowly. If we don't practice being able to read this, we aren't practicing our discernment. We aren't practicing our understanding. We aren't practicing our extended vocabulary. And we just basically get stuck in the same way of doing things all the time. Why? 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 Yeah.
Yes.
And it wasn't, I mean, yes, it's fancily said, but really the point is quite simple. Yes. And it was to
Yes.
understand what she's trying to say. Yes. That there are, as it's to socializing, that you lose your individuality. And if you don't develop your own individuality, do that first. And so, right, socialize later, learn that skill later. First, develop yourself. And this is, I feel, very, very important. I feel that children are left to learn socializing at an age long before they've developed the self. And the skill of socializing is way more prioritized in our culture than that of acquiring individuality. If I had children, there's no way I would let them be hanging out and socializing on their own. I would always be there to to say, hey, oh, and oh, sorry, don't be taking on this stuff and that, and and pointing out the hazards of it, and not letting them fall into that trap of inappropriate behavior. I would. It would be a long time before. I would never allow my children to go to a regular school. Absolutely not. All the stuff that not only I remember learning, which was the biggest load of nonsense, which I had to unlearn and relearn, but also I saw how other children, so I really studied children and people and personality, not just children, but psychology, everybody. I really studied them when I was at school. So I saw this happening every day at school. I saw how other children were losing themselves, and I saw how it would stick as adults. I could see the connection, how they never developed individuality. They just were social people, never having individuality. What a terrible thing. It's an unexpected hazard of socializing. And that's a fantastic question. That's like they knew this question to ask. Really powerful question. I was just amazed at this question. Oh, gift from the universe. Right? We don't think socializing is hazardous, but of course it's fantastically hazardous, especially when we are young. Fantastically hazardous. We learn all sorts of nonsense, and we don't learn to be individuals first. Right? When you're an individual, socializing is easy, but when you're not an individual, yes, you may learn to socialize, but then learning to be an individual is very different. Very, very different. A very big point. Very, very big point. Yes, Michaela, come. Join us. Join us. On chat now. All right. Let's do this as the last one. I mean, I know we have
Yes.
time, but I'm running out of steam. But can you read, Beena? Is it clear?
Yes. Yes, I can.
It's not a long
Yes,
one.
please.
Yeah. This is a very.
Joy of value. Sorry, say it again.
Oh no, I was just saying this is not a long article. So.
Yeah, okay. The joy of value. Where can I find more happiness, get more out of life? Dear question. We can find happiness through connecting to value, which also connect us to purpose and meaning. When we have these in our life, happiness follows. We can find happiness through connecting to value, which also connects us to purpose and meaning. When we have these in our life, happiness follows.
Well, let me ask
If we
you.
are positive,
Ask you. Right?
yes, yes,
In
yes,
your daily life, do you connect to value, capital V value?
yes,
Yes. What we're doing now, these lives, and when we hang out, we connect to values. It's our theme. It's what we do. Yes. And that gives us
yes,
a purpose. What is our meaning and purpose? Enhancement and development of awareness, learning, growing, understanding
exactly.
skills of being, right? We have plenty meaning
Yes,
and purpose, and this gives us incredible joy and happiness.
yes. If we are positive, if we have the idea and perspective of expecting to find value, we can find it. We can find value in anything, even that which annoys or irritates us. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
The important thing to remember
For
is
instance,
that
like for
value,
instance, to give an example, like for instance,
yes,
mixing up
mixing up.
numbers.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a very current example of which really stresses one that, okay, oh, okay, you did again. Of
But we need
course,
to,
for me, it was the consideration that, okay, it is not only limited to me, it is going to affect others and it is going to cause us trouble and extra work and all these things. But even whatever the intent is, few things in life, of course, which really bothers you sometimes, that okay, why it happened, why we have a lot of things like that in our mind. But even that is also gives us an opportunity to learn and enhance awareness. First, if someone else is involved, it makes you more aware of their patience level. It makes you aware of their consideration, their care, and it is also that okay, it makes you aware of where their emphasis is, actually where they are paying attention to, what they are ignoring for what. So many things you become aware of that person. And if no one else is involved, it makes you aware of your patience level. It makes you aware of your own triggers, your buttons, so anyone can push, and then of course, like, okay, yes, you can get irritated by that. And also it makes you aware of your own lack of focused attention.
and look at all
At
that,
least this is what is happening.
look at all that value, and value gives joy.
Yes,
We have to just
yes,
make that connection. See, we have to connect to value. That's what she says. We can find happiness through connecting to value. And I think I need to
yes,
this in capital C and in italics. Yes, through connecting
Yes.
to value, give it the appropriate emphasis. All right, let's read again from the start here. We only got
Okay.
a sentence and we got all that much out of it. And very cool. It's all Norma. It's
Where
all
can
good. It's all good, Norma. It's all good. Oh, love you,
where
Norma.
can I find, okay, dear questioner, sorry, where can I find more happiness, but get more out of life? Dear questioner, we can find happiness through connecting to value, which also connects us to purpose and meaning. When we have these in our life, happiness follows. If we are positive, if we have the idea and perspective of expecting to find value, we can find it. We can find value in anything, even that which annoys or irritates us. The important thing is to remember that value is positive, but not necessarily always pleasant. This is a crucial understanding. We can get value from the unpleasant. Good is not necessarily nice. There is a further point to this one of learning from the unpleasant. If we open ourselves, broaden our perspective, if we start looking at everything as a lesson of some sort, if we insist to ourselves that there is a lesson somewhere in everything, then we find them. But it goes further. We already know we can get value from the unpleasant. We can get good from the not nice. But if we learn our lesson early, then they are pleasant lessons. Then they are nice lessons. Preemptive. Yes, 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 yes,
We
yes.
already know
Wonderful.
value from the unpleasant. We can get good from the not nice. But if we learn our lessons early, then they are pleasant lessons. Then they are nice. I make all these capital L's here. They are. You know, it's lessons from the universe that we're talking about, not school lessons. Right? Yeah, then they're nice lessons. Life lessons mechanism.
Life lessons mechanism. It's just a way of it. To me, I see a pattern to how the lessons come. At first, they come in happy, joyful ways, easy ways. From lessons, if we learn them early, we enjoy and have fun, and life is good and nice. If we miss a lesson, it comes back again. When it comes back, it perhaps not as fun, perhaps a bit clearer and direct. If we still do not learn, the lesson comes back again, this time's more forceful. Now is it learn or suffer? That is the mechanism of the lessons from the world. These lessons from ourselves, the mechanisms, is nicely at first, then less and less nice if we do not learn. How exactly how exactly this life learning mechanism works is to me a joyful mystery. I have many theories on how it works, but none of them matter in the least. It does not matter if we believe in anything or not. All that matters is that we pay attention. If we pay attention to this mechanism of learning, we very quickly see that lessons do indeed come nicely at first, and then less and less nicely if we do not learn. We do not have to understand how exactly this mechanism works in order to make use of it. This is the key perspective. We do not have to understand how something works in order to extract value from it. Once we learn that we can extract value from anything, that is when, to me, we truly start on our path of living. That is when life is easy. Biella.
Oh, wow, 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 wow. Does not matter if we believe in anything or not. All that matters is that we pay capital A attention, right?
Yes.
Pay attention to this mechanism of learning. We very quickly see lessons do indeed come nicely at first, and then less and less nicely if we don't learn. You know, I think I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again. Uh, when I was a teenager, at age 16, you could start to ride motorcycles, right? And then this was a big deal. And 18, So the boys when leaving school, boys not girls, but anyway, motorcycles were very popular because they were an affordable means of transport. Cars were very expensive there at that time because they were mostly imported, or at least the majority of the parts were imported, even though they were locally manufactured, and they made them very expensive, unaffordable. But here's the thing, right? So it became very commonplace motorcycle accidents happening. And it's just like, oh, so and so had an accident. Oh, again. And I went and asked them, what happened? How did this accident happen? I was very curious because it wasn't the first time, right? They'd had these accidents quite a few times already. So then I asked them very specifically what exactly happened, like I was watching a movie, and I had them go through the entire sequence, not just the accident, but what happened before the accident, just before the accident. And so I got to see the mindset where they knew that they shouldn't do it, but they did it anyway. That was almost always the takeaway. But what I found from that study, because I wanted to understand how they came to have an accident when I knew before they had a minor accident, how they came to have a serious accident. And so then I got to hear the stories of before the time. How did you know that you were going to have an accident, but you did it anyway? Well, because the last time I went around that corner and I wasn't going quite so fast. And so they had simple, easier ones where they learned the lesson and they didn't have a severe accident with broken bones and stuff, but they didn't pay attention. And I saw how it kept escalating. The accidents got more and more serious until they ended up in the hospital. Serious accident. It was really fascinating. It was absolutely. And then, of course, I took that pattern because I tried to think abstractly, and I took that pattern and started applying it to everything. And well, I started to see this typically all over in school. The kids get told nicely, they get an easy way, and then it's like a duh thing in school. Sometimes you just went straight to the caning, but anyway. um, it was just fascinating to see how life, right, not just people, but life itself gives us these lessons. That's if we pay attention, right, and see them. I mean, it happens all the time. It's just that we aren't used to thinking of everything in life being a capital L lesson. Right? We don't think of life as being this way. But when we do, and then we start to see all these incredible gifts that come our way, capital L lesson, uh, and then we start to learn, capital L learn. This is why I capitalize it and Biella does. And it's very, very helpful. Very helpful to realize, good isn't always nice, but there's a progression that you get given your lessons nicely. If you are eager to learn, if you're keen to learn, then you learn them. But if you're reluctant to learn, well, then you don't learn them, and then you have to get a smack upside the head or a broken leg in order to learn. It's just too fascinating. Makes sense? Yes. And now, also, just by the way, I mean, look how simple this article is, or this reply is, this chapter, relative to the previous one. Yeah? Like very simple, very focused, very precise, very easy. Yes.
Yes.
Norma says, "Hi, Beena. Nice to hear your cheery voice."
Thank you, Norma.
You sound a little bit stuffy too. Yeah, we're both stuffy today.
Yes, a bit.
I hope you
Yes.
don't mean stuffy in the abstract way, like pedantic and intellectual in that way stuffy.
Ah, yes, can be. Okay. Why
Oh,
not?
no, we never stuffy in that way. No.
I was just teasing you. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, coming back to
yes, yes,
this
chapter
extracting value.
was a little, no, but even though it was written fancily, it wasn't stuffy. Stuffy is like being pedantic and full of nonsense and stuff like that.
Yes, I know, I know. I understand that. I was
Uh,
just making fun of it, like, oh yes, okay. So coming back to this point of life lesson mechanism and how the lessons are usually typically nice and easy and pleasant uh, and in the beginning,
yeah,
mostly because okay, this is a test, so the test is okay, simple. Okay, yes, you can choose a test in terms of just universe gives you choice to make. Because as in the previous chapters, Biella was sharing that how the universe is actually really keen to enhance our awareness. So all the lessons and every test and situation is actually just the MCQs we always have. And those MCQs are just in the nice way presented to us that, oh, okay, here's a situation to enhance your awareness. This is the MCQ you can choose. And mostly we ignore. Okay. The whole idea of, okay, seeing the red flags and all colors of flag and still ignoring them. We don't do that in relationships only. We do that in everything, because we condition our mind to follow the norms, follow the bias, follow the jargons and the trends and the buzzwords and all these things. And also that's following anyone or anything. Okay, mostly it is like, okay, yes, someone famous, someone powerful, someone quote unquote credible according to us was saying or doing this, and we follow that. We don't actually consider this as a test from the universe. Every single time when a new awareness or an idea, or any idea, even not even new awareness, any idea, when it comes to us, it's a test right there. How we are going to actually proceed. Are we just going to blindly follow and accept and start following that, doing that? Or are we going to make our impeccable choice? It's a test in every single time. When we have to choose anything, it's a test right there. Universe give us opportunity to choose the MCQs every single time. We have multiple choices we can do, but we never actually, okay, mostly we don't do that. And the second time, because we ignored those MCQs, multiple choices selection, then the choice is becoming a bit limited. Okay, first time it was unlimited choices we can choose. Now the conditions are different, circumstances are different, so we have limited options to choose from. So then of course it is getting a bit okay, not as nice as it was before.
Exactly.
If we ignore that, and if we don't make another the next time, again we don't make an impeccable choice, and we don't become aware of it, the third time the limitations and the options get more limited. This is how the universe take back power to it, because we are proving by making not impeccable choices that we are not capable of. So what's the point to give you power to choose? It is actually universe gradually takes the power back. And of course, at the end, it is like you have to do what you need to do. No other way. No other way. So what for me, it was like exactly what Biella was sharing, of course, that universe limit your options every single time. That's why it becomes not nice, not good type of thing. But it is good even if it is just one single option. Still, it is a choice. Still, it is a good way to live. And of course, that was my understanding that universe, people say that, okay, why I'm getting all these lessons again and again, even though I'm saying I have learned. It is not going to happen like this. You have to submit practically by implementing your new awareness.
Yeah.
You have to submit answer. Otherwise, karma will keep repeating itself again and again and again.
Beena, the universe wants proof that you've learned, not just
exactly.
I heard you.
Yes, that's exactly. I have learned. I'm crying, I'm praying, I'm saying to universe, I have learned my lesson. No, universe say, okay. Every single time when someone pray out loud or in their heart, universe say, okay, so you need an opportunity to prove yourself. You will get the same situation, almost same type of BMN in your life, same type of situation, and then you have to submit a new answer. Your prayers answered. Your prayers actually get answered when you pray that, okay, I have learned my lesson. Please give me something to give. The universe just give you a chance to exercise your impeccable choices.
Yeah.
That's why we get all the time horrible situation again till we make an impeccable choice.
And that
That's
you
why.
get to know that your learning is for real, not just the idea that you learn.
Exactly. Your philosophy needs to grow corn. Otherwise, no.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Joseph. We like this. Not just, the application is by implication there, right? Growing corn, you need to harvest that corn. Not just
Exactly.
grow it, but harvest it. Yes, so you get these lessons over and over again so that you can end up harvesting that corn. Very, very, very important. Very, very important. Before we go, I just want to make sure and check to see if we have any more questions or comments. Nothing. All right, brilliant. All right. On that note, yes, any more to add? That's a fantastic point, Beena. And that you also said that the universe gives you the power of choice. Many, many. Yes. But if you don't
Yes.
utilize that choice impeccably, the universe is going to take its power back and limit your choices. Why
Yes.
things over and over. Fantastic point there, Beena. Fantastic
Yes.
takeaway there. Brilliant.
Which also proves that the real horror of life is having limited choices. And
Exactly.
the real joy is having unlimited choices,
Which is freedom.
which can only be happen with awareness.
Exactly. And the ability to utilize that awareness, to actually utilize it to choose appropriately and sensibly. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Gifted this power, if you don't utilize it, it gets taken back. Very cool. I like this painting to illustrate that too. Question until email from the universe. Questions or love notes from the universe. There's your love note from the universe.
Yes. Yes.
Very cool.
Yes, because mostly people ask like, why universe? Why God? Why Allah? I have learned my lesson. I'm trying to be nice and I'm trying to be good, and still I'm getting the same situation. Exactly because you asked for it. You were saying that I'm capable of making choices. Then now universe just provide you an opportunity to prove your authority there. Okay, here's the situation again. Prove yourself because you were praying for it. No, I'm going to give your power back. Okay, try it again. Try it again. Try it again. We take it as, oh, the same situation coming again. No, the universe is saying, try it again. Try
Now,
it again. Try it again.
we're a little blasé and arrogant when it comes to learning. We think we learn much quicker and easier than
A
we actually.
little, a little, sir. Okay,
Well, all right. I'm being a little careful with saying it.
yes.
A lot.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much, Syl. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Joseph, for being here. And it was nice, of course. It was fun to have you guys there.
Oh yeah.
And thank you so much, Syl, for sharing this. It was a powerful chapter today.
Lots of
And I like
lot. We did a whole bunch of chapters, like 6 of them.
yes, yes. It was all powerful, very powerful. Well, it seemed like it was all connected. That's why I
Oh
was
yeah.
saying that. Okay,
Oh
yes.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
also, I like
Definitely.
your idea to add this or connect this the story of Sophie's story
Yeah.
because it's a
That's
real
what I'm
application.
now. It's
Yeah, it's
yeah.
a real application of not getting influenced but still being receptive and
Oh,
not getting involved into ego nonsense
I
and
love
and
that
and
story.
having
Love that story.
yes and having a love for learning and growing. And this is something really a practical example we have. So that is something wonderful. And also that today I learned a lot, and of course it gives me a lot of clarity about the choices and the karma, okay, quote unquote, in other words, the karma and the lessons from the universe. It gives me so much clarity. That's why I was sharing this, and I was keen to share because when I say that out loud, it has something, some magic in it. When you say things, when you start sharing, then everything gets like really tuned, well tuned. Okay, of course it needs practice, but it gets more clear. So for my own clarity, I was sharing that. I was keen to share. And this is what I'm getting. This is again how to extract value. This is how to extract value. Open your mind, open your heart, and try to understand that from which perspective I can get value. There are tons of perspective in just one Biala's sharing. One
Exactly.
can get anything.
exactly. And also, we had this theme of, application, philosophical, getting value, happiness was a nice little theme.
Yeah.
Next chapter, just as a little preview for next week, a little cliffhanger, is the question is, I'm confused about reducing wants to nothing, dot, dot, dot. Right? The Buddhist concept of reducing wants to
Oh
nothing.
yes, I know it very well. You know that, okay, how irritated I was with this
Oh,
idea.
and we've discussed this in depth many times, but I think
Yes.
very nice continuation after all that focus on what it takes to be happy. Uh, we tend to associate having our wants satisfied as having happy. But it's a very cool next chapter. Very cool next chapter. I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the book. That Sophie story. I'm gonna find it today. All right. On that note, let's go. Let's go. We've been saying we'll go, but we're not going.
Yes, yes.
Like that.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Uh,
Thank you. And please do, if you are going to watch it recorded, so please do leave a comment, like it, and subscribe to channel also. You are going to have a lot of fun in the future. So please don't miss it. Please do subscribe to the channel.
see what Beena's doing? She's becoming a professional YouTuber there. To say subscribe, like. That's all the professional YouTubers will do that. Good,
Yes.
Beena. Good. I'm a
Yes.
bit lax. This is not important, but to me at least,
No problem for me. It is important for me. I do appreciate that. And I'm also keen to share with others because it is going to be very fun and it is going to be very valuable in the future because all your podcast and everything will be there. We will discuss your books in details, of course, and then we will go
Oh, yeah.
through by all those things. So a lot of things. And then of course we are going to have open sessions there about fun topics
Yeah.
and fun questions. And I will ask Syl really tricky questions on YouTube, and we will do that
Wow.
according to Syl,
Brilliant.
according to Syl Sabastian.
Brilliant. 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 Okay. Well, when we finish reading these books, we'll do that. We'll start
Yes.
the uh, ATS
What?
ATS series according to Syl.
Yes, according to Syl.
But I want to add Beena there. So it's ATS.
According to us.
Oh,
According to us.
eight according to us. All right. I like that too.
According to us.
I like that. I like that. All right. So from us, I'll say goodbye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Yes. See you tomorrow. Bye for now, Syl.
Bye bye, Beena. End meeting.